Hi guys, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed last time's show about DSLR basics. Basically, what I'm going to talk about today is I'm going to talk to you about the different camera modes you have available to you. Alright, so basically the three main camera modes that I use are fully manual, aperture priority, and shutter priority. Each have their own sort of specific sort of requirements and sort of how they come into their own. Manual is good once you know, not everything, but once you understand what like aperture and shutter speed can do collaboratively together, and then you can make brilliant results. I'm still not quite there yet, but I'm still experimenting. But basically, you do have another whole sort of set of preset dials in, such as like landscape mode, portrait mode, night mode for like shooting stars and stuff. However, they're quite self-explanatory. Okay, so the aperture priority is really good if you are, say, shooting in a really, really bright setting. And I've just come back from Canada, and there was a huge amount of snow there. So when the sun's shining, it's going to be really very bright. So when you're, say, shooting a macro piece of snow, like an example here, I've got right here. I took that last year in Canada, which I got a huge reaction from on Tumblr. That was I was using aperture priority mode then, but that was only f3.5, and that worked absolutely perfectly because the camera set its own sort of shutter speed setting, and so it wasn't overexposed or underexposed too much. So I didn't have to sort of experiment with like if it was 1/4000th of a second or whatever. It just perfectly put it all into focus. The shutter priority has come in real handy when I've been shooting motorsport. Like for example, when I was at the Formula 1 this year in Montreal, I used the shutter priority mainly just because when you're panning from like side to side, the car can sometimes go from in the sun to halfway in the sun and then in the shade, and then fully in the shade again. And you can't really preset that just in the moment, because you never know if it's going to have a crash or whatever out the side of your eye, and you've preset it for in the sun, and it crashes in the shade. You're just going to get a completely under or overexposed photo. So that's just pointless. But for the motorsport stuff, I have found out through contacts in the industry and so on and so forth, that a good base point for actually panning and taking the photos is 1/250th of a second, and that sort of gives a little bit of blur in the background, which is very, very nice, like I talked about in my last video. But the fact that newspapers and so on and so forth don't really like that, it just looks a bit arty-farty for them. But I don't care, I like the look of it, and I get good responses on Tumblr and on my Facebook page, all of which are described right on there. YouTube underwear, right down there. Which is, but yeah, I have experienced, for my personal sort of preference and how it looks like great in photos in the end, like the some Britcast stuff for the 24 hours I did, and obviously for the F1 I've done as well. Everything worked at 1/125th of a second, and that gives us brilliant sort of blur in the background, so there are no sort of distractions. It's just all the focus on the car, or say horse riding or running or football. But yeah, basically that's the two main camera modes that I use personally, and if I just want to get a good solid picture of a sunset when I'm with my friends, I will go for landscape, sort of a preset, or if I want to take a nice portrait of one of my friends, I will use the portrait mode. My friends don't really like having portraits taken of them, but whatever. It's just nice to know that I have the capability if I ever want to. But yeah, thanks very much, and I hope you've had a good Christmas and New Year. Thanks.